a little late getting to him, but we've got Bill King with us from Nashville Sports Radio, king of college football talk. You can hear him 6 to 9 on WNSR. Bill, it looks like Auburn and Kentucky may actually be playing any moment now, but you know what the situation is in Hoover. We are sitting around watching it rain, which you never have to worry about in football. But how you doing in Nashville?
Tell you what, guys, I'm glad this isn't softball because I would just pitch Carter Holton every game and get done with it. Just forget about the rest of the games.
Yeah, he was really good against Arkansas, Bill. I mean,
last night he was too,
and he was last night too. Yeah, I mean, the little lefty that's like I know they list him at 6 foot. He ain't 6 foot, and he's throwing 96 miles an hour to spots. That's an impressive pitcher.
Correct. Yeah, he's just a freshman, and they get the Bulls tonight. I don't know what Tony's thinking, whether or not it's important. They don't really need anything from this tournament, so it'll be interesting to see how they play.
I don't know if you saw the video of this. One of the whistlers, and only one of them is here. He's the guy he's not the one with the long hair and the teeth.
He's the nice one.
He's the nice one. Somebody tracked him down yesterday, an Ole Miss fan. He put it on Twitter too, and just told him he was the worst thing on earth. And he's actually this was the guy who's actually okay. He's not Preacher. He's the other one.
Right. Yeah, I think it's the Barstool guy for Ole Miss.
That's who it is.
Who runs that.
Mincy.
And, that is an epic clip that I think the whole planet has seen.
Yeah, I think they enjoyed it. So we haven't even had a chance to talk to you about the Nick Saban versus Jimbo Fisher thing. And I was in Tuscaloosa last weekend, and I've been in Birmingham since then. So I've been listening to all of the anti-Jimbo takes, which there are thousands of them here in Alabama. And it's all a matter of what perspective you come from with this, isn't it? I mean, the Alabama fans hate Jimbo, and the A&M fans are going after Saban, and we just get to sit in the middle laughing at it all.
I mean, I think there's culpability, really, both ways. Obviously, Nick shouldn't have called out individuals, and that's regrettable. And Jimbo shouldn't throw a temper tantrum every time somebody questions how he got the recruiting class, because Jimbo needs to understand this is legal. You ought to be bragging about it. Did you hear what Nick just said? We're the best at this, and it's legal, but he sits up there and lies and talks about how they're not buying anybody. Why would you just lie to the camera and expect everybody to believe you? So you're right. Your constituents are going to be on your side regardless, and your enemies are not, for sure.
It's because Jimbo doesn't come from professional sports. Like, no general manager ever cares about saying, yeah, they took this job because we're offering them the most money. Isn't that usually what free agency is about? And it's more an admittance of the position we're in college sports.
Yep, absolutely. That's we're not there yet. A few years down the road, as the Wild West continues, it'll probably just become okay to brag about.
It will eventually, but it's gonna take some time for not just fans, but I think coaches to really get comfortable with, okay, we can do this. Let's start advertising it. And Bill, we're a week away from the meetings in Destin. Do you think that Greg Sankey is going to try to sit with both of them, I guess, in person and have them come out and maybe do a photo op, handshaking like they're best friends? Or is this something that I think Sankey and the SEC headquarters wants to keep going to build expectation, not just for SEC Media Days, but for October 8th? Greg Sankey's Vince McMahon here. This is WWE. How's he spinning this?
Well, he's going to spin it like he's the disciplinarian. And, he sent out a memo quietly to all the other coaches, do not jump into the fray here. And you notice they didn't, because Lane Kiffin later that day was scheduled to go on the Dan Patrick show, and that got nixed. Or at least he couldn't talk about it, and that's the only thing you'd want Lane to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Because he's going to be the most opinionated. But no. I mean, he's going to try and handle it like a suit would handle it. And those guys are trained when it comes to wordsmithing on how to handle this kind of stuff, and it's really not bad publicity. It's actually good publicity. It's just kind of embarrassing.
Mm-hmm. No, it definitely is good publicity. It's getting not just us talking heads around the South talking about it, but it was on every national show Thursday, Friday, all the way through the weekend, even some earlier this week. So in that case, any publicity is good publicity. Now, the SEC could possibly get some bad publicity, though. which isn't good if they do try to explore this whole SEC-only playoff. How do you view this news that Pete Thamel and others wrote about yesterday? Is this a realistic thing, or is this Sankey bluffing and just trying to intimidate the other conferences to get on board?
The two best commissioners ever are Roy Kramer and Mike Slive. And you can't do better than that. And you got them back-to-back. Slive did the same thing when talking about it. Slive is way better than Sankey. But Slive did the same thing when it came to full cost of attendance, getting players paid just based on that by the school well before the NIL. And then also the expansion of the playoffs to 4 teams, or to transition from the BCS to the playoffs. And he made several threats in public, carefully PR'd, on purpose to say, look, we don't want to do this, but if we had to, we can go on our own. And he said that subtly a couple of times, knowing he's not going to have to do this. And that's exactly what – this is saber-rattling. You can't possibly actually think you're going to play 12 games, an SEC championship game, and then select 8 teams from your league and play it all. I mean, that's nothing but saber-rattling. And when I saw that, I had to read it twice, which I never have to read something twice. Just as, are they serious here? I don't buy that. Now there is a big topic about the way they're going to handle the scheduling in the future, 8 games, 9 games, and a 1-7 format or a 3-6 format, depending on how many permanent opponents you want. And one of them is 1 and the other one is 3. That's real. And they're not going to use the BOD system. Apparently that's not even on the table, but the idea that you're going to play it off in your league is preposterous. It's simply to let all the other leagues know we don't need you, which they really do. But you know, they could play it off. It wouldn't be as interesting to me. If I had Georgia and Alabama playing for the 3rd time or something, would I rather see that or Georgia versus Ohio State or Alabama versus Clemson? I mean, I don't see it.
Well, I mean, it's a national championship. It's not a regional championship. That's the whole idea behind this. That's the whole thing. Otherwise, you can't use the word national, and if you do, it's totally illegitimate. And as far as the scheduling goes, like, I don't like the 1-7 formula at all, because I think there are historic rivalries. You can't please everybody with this, but like, I feel like, and I know they say 3-6 is not a pod system, but it's still a pod system. It's still with 4 different groups of teams that are playing each other 3 times.
Right.
So it's still kind of a pod system. And I guess some of it really comes down to, do you want to do 9 or do you want to do 8? And I'd rather see 9 conference games.
They don't need 9. We already know that, because they're playing 8 and they're winning national championships left and right. So they don't need it. It's considered economically even more when it comes to the money. Now, maybe not in the initial contract, but an additional game can mean more revenue. But here's the problem. Let's say you're in the last half of the SEC, and it's very important for your coach to have that additional non-conference game, which they have now 4, to get a W. So you pay a team $750 to come in, beat them, add the W to your resume. That's a problem for those guys. And I do think 3-6, probably the 3-6 format probably will win out. But the way we're hearing it, it's pretty dead even, because you got the league split on how important that other game. If you're Vanderbilt, why would you want 3-6? That's a for sure loss, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it turns into a haves or have-nots, and I'd read the same stuff.
Correct.
Yeah, 8-8, and
correct.
They're split down the middle, and that's not usually the way the league operates.
And Oklahoma and Texas don't have a vote yet. They will in a few years, but they don't have a vote, so they would have to just walk into whatever the format is.
Yeah, they'll just be sucked into the format.
Partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including updated odds on the NBA playoffs, fights, and even next season's futures. And don't forget that the MLB is back as well. Who are you picking to win the World Series? BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering needs, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's super easy to get started, so head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.